Welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christina. I'm the manager of the Employment Support Center, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our annual Tie Into Business networking event. This event has evolved over the years, and this year certainly is no exception. But what we know for sure is that students want to know how to transition successfully from school to meaningful work, and employers want to hire Algonquin grads. We also know that AC alumni are proud to have graduated from our college. We welcome the alumni who are here as guests in the audience, as well as our panelists. Our team at the Employment Support Center includes Carol Ann, Lindsay, and Jessica. Many of you are familiar with them through our events and career readiness services. I'll pass it over to Lindsay to provide you an overview of what's to come.
Thank you, Christina. So before we introduce our employers and kick off our alumni panel discussion, I did want to walk you through a few housekeeping items for today's event, some instructions, and just a simple schedule to give you an idea of what's ahead. So you'll see on the slide here, we're just asking that you're able to mute your mic during the alumni panel discussion so we can give our full attention to our guests today. We would also ask if you're comfortable to turn on your cameras so that we can simulate a face-to-face experience in our networking time together. If you are interested in asking a question after the presentation from the panel, you can use the chat button on the bottom of your screen, and you can also introduce yourself in the chat and get a sense of who you're talking to in terms of where your college community is coming from today. At the end of the panel discussion, you are able to ask your questions for a couple minutes. Bonnie will take some questions for the panel today. We wanted also to talk about some instructions for you. So today's event, we can't simulate an actual name tag, so we're hoping that we can get you to do a virtual name tag. So if you can right click on your name in the bottom left corner of your video, so you'll see your name there. If you right click on that, it'll give you the option to rename in the menu. And then when you get there, you can type in your status and your first name. So I'm going to show you right now with mine. So for example, if you're a student attending today's session, you can put student dash your name. If you're a graduate attending today's session, you can put graduate dash your name. If you are an employer today, you can put the name of your organization and then your first name. Perfect. We'll give you a second to do that. Awesome. And then we just have one more slide with some instructions for you as well today. So we are encouraging everyone to use a virtual background. My colleague from the Employment Support Center is going to post an image in the chat for you to download. Here are the instructions to do so, but if you are having difficulty, don't worry about it. Some of us will have the background, some of us won't, and that's okay. So if you're having trouble, no worries at all. If you can do it, these are the instructions. So you would save the photo that has just been dropped in the chat to your desktop. Then you're going to click the small arrow to the right of the stop video button and select choose virtual background. Once you've done that, you can click the plus sign on the right-hand side to add an image, and you would simply just open the file and it will populate the background for you. Make sure to unclick the I have a green screen directly under that as well if you're having trouble with the image being seen. And once again, just to create an element of us all being in the same space together, but no worries if that isn't something that your computer is compatible with. All right. Give you a second to do that as well. Perfect. And lastly, we just wanted to cover a schedule of the events for today. So we're just going to wrap up the introductions and the housekeeping in the next couple of minutes. At 4:15 to 4:45, we're going to have a moderated alumni panel discussion. And we'll hear a little bit more about the panelists that are joining us today shortly. From 4:45 to 4:55, there will be a bit of an open question and answers period for those panelists. And then following that, we're going to have a breakout room session for you to network with your employers and peers. Finishing up the night at about 5:55 to 6, where we're just going to have a few closing remarks. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of what to expect tonight. And I am going to pass it over to my colleague, Carol Ann.
Thank you, Lindsay, and welcome to everyone. I'm happy to welcome and introduce our employer partners who are joining us today. We have a great cross-section of industry being represented at the event. I will ask them to wave as their name is announced, and as Lindsay mentioned, you can see their organization name indicated in their Zoom image. So please help me welcome from SI Systems, Andrea Romanchuk and John Beaupre. From Versature, Jeremy Lumsden. From Rogers, Gail Waterman and Brendan McBride. And from RBC, Rania Zamer and Natasha Lemay-Riom. From MNP, Laura Dion and Epi Quarry. From Invest Ottawa, we have Yoko Cooper. From Asset Compliance, please welcome Jillian Mitchell and Mandy Otway. And from Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, please welcome Kelly McNaughton. Thank you all again for being here to meet and to network with our students and graduates. It's going to be a great event, so thank you. And next, I would like to introduce our moderator for the alumni panel discussion, Bonnie Chan. Bonnie currently works for the Algonquin College events team, and prior to joining them, she was our alumni relations officer, where she fostered deep relationships and contributed to a strong college community. We're really lucky to have her here today. So Bonnie, over to you to start the alumni panel discussion.
Perfect, thank you. Hello everyone, as mentioned, Bonnie here from the college's events team. We will start with the discussion with our alumni panel, after which we will move into breakout rooms so that you can engage with the employers who have joined us today. Just a reminder that employer LinkedIn URLs will be supplied after the event so that you can continue the conversation. I'm really excited to moderate this event for a second year in a row. Since I was previously part of the alumni office at the college, I still really do love connecting and welcoming alumni back to our community, even though it is on a virtual platform this year. And I see a lot of familiar faces as well. Our panel will share some insight into their career paths, and we will speak about how their time at Algonquin led them to where they are today. Before we jump into the discussion, I would like to introduce Della from the Alumni and Friends Network.
Hello, I am Della with the Alumni and Friends Network, as Bonnie mentioned. I just wanted to take a minute or two to go over our area because we have several alumni here and many students who are going to join our alumni family right after they graduate. Just quickly, what we do, our job is to provide opportunities for you to be engaged with, stay engaged with the Algonquin College community. What that looks like, we run events, several events, networking events, we have volunteer opportunities, we support reunions, we do some major events such as our awards program, the Alumni of Distinction, which is normally a gala on campus. This year it is a virtual event. And we are responsible for making sure that all our alumni maintain access to benefits and services at the college. What that looks like, it would be on-campus discounts at the bookstore and the fitness zone. You can maintain access to several AC services, such as the Employment Support Center, which you will have access to as long as you need it. You have a lifelong email, lifelong library access, and several discounts through affinity partnerships. And if you want to check out those benefits, you can always go to our website, which is algonquincollege.com/alumni. And I'm always here to answer your questions. And like Bonnie, welcome you back to campus. And during COVID, that is virtually. So welcome. Over to you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Della. And I'll be kicking off the panel discussion by introducing our lovely panel members that we have here today. So first, we have Katie Barrett, who is a business administration marketing graduate from the class of 2019. And Katie is currently the marketing and communications assistant at Queensway Carleton Hospital Foundation. Next, we have Brian McCullough, who is actually a two-time Algonquin graduate. Brian completed the Business Management and Entrepreneurship program in 2016, and he is also a business marketing graduate of the class of 2020. Brian is currently the sales lead at rebel.com. And we also have Ragi Mahajan, who is a Bachelor of Commerce e-Supply Chain Management 2020 graduate. Raghav is currently a project coordinator for the Information Systems branch at Agriculture and Agri-Foods Canada. So welcome to our panel today. And I thought I would kick things off by connecting with Katie first. So I'm gonna see if there we go. And Katie, I was wondering if you can begin the discussion with us today on just speaking about how your time at Algonquin and your academics led you to your current position today.
Sure. So as Bonnie said, I'm a business administration and marketing graduate. I just graduated in 2019, and I actually did the college partnership program where I was able to complete my Bachelor of Commerce at Nipissing University, which I just completed in April. So I am a very, very recent grad. So when I was at Algonquin, what really interested me throughout my program was learning about communications and learning about storytelling and how to promote a product to make it interesting for consumers. And what actually happened that led me into my job was through my personal network, which I'm sure a lot of you know is a really, really powerful tool to help you find employment. So my mother actually was a volunteer with Queensway Carleton Hospital Foundation for many, many years. And an opportunity came up there. There's two opportunities, actually. I'll tell you a little bit of a funny story. So two opportunities came up there, and there was an event specialist position, as well as a communications assistant position. So when I applied at Queensway Carleton Hospital Foundation, I went for the communications assistant role because that was something that really, really interested me. So I went through the interview process, and they actually came back and said, you know, we have somebody really amazing for the communications role. Would you like to do the events role? And I'm not an events person, but what's really important as a young grad, you need to go for every opportunity in front of you. So I took it. And I decided to be, their events officer for the summer, and it was only a summer contract. So I stayed on with the foundation all summer until that event was completed. And when the event was over, they offered me the communications assistant job that I had originally gone for. And so my experience at Algonquin and everything that I learned has only amplified what I'm doing now in this role. So interestingly enough, not a lot that I learned through my program really helped me with my events officer role, but what I've done with Algonquin has only made me better and better in my current role and what I'm doing now, Bonnie. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Katie. And you brought up a lot of great points and themes that I'll definitely come back to because I know networking, that's such a great word, and I want to come back to that theme later. And moving on to Brian, it would be great to hear, as mentioned, you are a two-time graduate from Algonquin. Can you talk a little bit about that experience and also how it has led to your current job today?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, so like you mentioned, back in 2016, I was in the business management and entrepreneurship course. Again, that amazing course, it teaches you everything to, how to start up a company, how to have the drive, the right attitude, all the above. So that alone was a really good starting point. And then, for me, after that, kind of where it led to is I was going to start a landscaping company. So I got to that point, 1 month before launching, I created all my ads, bought all the equipment. It was 1 month to launch. And then right after that, a buddy and I just decided to drop everything and move to Australia for a year. So we did that, pretty random, but we did that. And then the last week before coming home, I remember I was thinking to myself, I was like, what am I going to do when I get home? So I thought back to that first program, going through that and, almost launching my own landscaping company. The part that got me the most excited was actually creating the advertisements. So I thought, okay, well, maybe there's something in that. So I decided to jump in the business marketing program when I came back. 2-year program. But one of the things that was in this program, one of the things, I guess the beauty of Algonquin is the amount of opportunities that are present in Algonquin. This being a really good example as well. But just for an example, from our business marketing program, there was 2 different opportunities, 2 marketing competitions that were out there. One of them was a national, provincial marketing competition, and another was a national. And I think those 2 things alone, like I don't think many programs have that opportunity, or many schools have that opportunity where you can join in on a marketing competition, or even special events like this. And I think those things are the key to why Algonquin students are so successful in getting hired right out of school. But yeah, I think to sum it all up, I think the biggest thing is just the opportunity that Algonquin presents. And yeah, that's it.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian. And that's another word that we'll bring up again later, opportunity. I love that. So everyone in the audience, we will be coming back to networking and opportunities. And next for Gav, it would be great to hear about your experience at Algonquin and how it did bring you to your current role. And I know that there was also some co-op opportunities that had come up through your program as well. So it'd be great to hear about some of those points.
Sure. Hey, everyone. Well, as you guys know, I'm Raghav Mahajan, and I'm a recent graduate from the Bachelor of Commerce e-Supply Chain Management program. Things about Algonquin College that I like the most are, first of all, I think the courses, well, in my program, and I feel like in a lot of programs are more industry oriented, and they provide hands-on training or, work integrated learning. Rather than just academic learning. I think that's where our graduates get an edge over other graduates from other schools. And I think it's a really good skill to have. Coming back to work integrated learning, as Bonnie mentioned, I had 3 co-op terms in my program, and my experience was really good. I enjoyed all 3 of them. My personal motive was to get different experiences, so I tried to get a co-op on 3 different organizations. And from coming that, I did my first co-op with Agriculture Canada with their information systems branch as a project officer. And coming back now, I'm working there as a project coordinator. So it was really helpful. The connections I made through co-op and through other networking events were really helpful, especially securing an employment at times like this where a lot of companies are not hiring right now because of the pandemic. So I think it was really helpful.
Perfect. Thank you, Raghav. And it's so great that each of our panel members brought forth so many themes. And I'm just going to open it up to Katie, Brian, and Raghav, so feel free to jump in with any of these topics. It would be great to talk about networking and connections, which is what everyone has been echoing right now. Is there any tips or any resources that you can suggest to current students and also new graduates? And also keeping in mind, like Raghav mentioned, that with pandemics and all that happening, in-person connections or networking isn't possible. So is there any tips or resources that you can share with everyone in the audience?
Yeah, I can jump in to start it off. Yeah, something I like to do. Anybody can do this, whether COVID's on or not. But find somebody. Look on LinkedIn. I think find somebody who's in a role, in your dream role, or in a role that you can picture yourself in. Say you want to be a marketer or something like that. You want to be in a specific role. Go through LinkedIn. Look for somebody who's in that role, and then reach out to them. Reach out to them. Hey, can we sit down for a virtual coffee? Because that's what we're doing right now, virtual coffees. 9 out of 10 times, these people will be willing to sit down with you for 20 minutes, half an hour, and just talk about, how they got into that role, what the role is like, and just overall give you some tips on how to be successful finding a role like that. So again, I think just find someone who's in a role that you want to be in, and just feel free to reach out to them, because again, most of the time they'll be happy to help out there.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian. And I love that term right there, virtual coffee. I think a lot of us are having a lot of virtual coffee sessions right now. So thank you so much for giving that piece of advice. Katie or Raghav, is there anything to add or any resources that you think our attendees can look into?
Yeah, I can jump in. Sorry, do you want to go first?
No, you go right ahead.
All right, sounds good. So I think those were some great points brought up by Brian. Definitely getting to know people on LinkedIn is a really good way to network. One thing I would like to bring forward is using schools resources. For example, being a part of clubs and communities. I think it's really important and really beneficial to students. When I first started at Algonquin, in the first year, we didn't really have, because my major is in supply chain, so we didn't really have a supply chain club. So I ended up starting one from second year. But a lot of, for a lot of programs, I've seen clubs that are already existing and have a good structure already, and they provide networking opportunities, events like these, or connections to professionals. Another thing I would like to mention is what I've noticed is a lot of professors and faculty are from the industry, are directly from the industry. Some of them are part-time, working full-time in the industry, and they're teaching part-time. So connecting with them, asking them to, if they have any connections in the industry, I think that would be a great idea.
Perfect, thank you. And Katie.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, Raghav. I completely agree with you. I find, and the most powerful tool for me personally, finding employment outside of school, during school, summer positions, have been speaking to my professors, because at the end of the day, your teachers are there to teach you curriculum, but they're also your biggest advocators, and they really care about you finding employment and being happy and being where you want to be. So it's really, really important to build and maintain those relationships with your professors, because exactly what he just mentioned is they are the industry experts. Most of our professors actually worked in the industry for 20 plus years and have now joined the Algonquin team to teach what they know. They have endless connections. And as well as your professors too, I think you should always look to your peers and fellow students, because not necessarily everybody has graduated high school and come to Algonquin and they're now looking for employment. There are so many mature students that have also been in the industry for 20 years and come back and they want to improve their skills and their knowledge, and they have many connections too. So at the end of the day, coming to school to learn, it's also a huge team effort to grow your network, and your best resources are the people that you work with on a day-to-day basis, like your professors and your peers.
Perfect. I love that. Thank you so much, Katie. And do any of you have any advices, for example, for any of our current alumni or any recent graduates that are, currently facing challenges, job searching or anything like that? Do you have any advice for them? Or even if they are able to find opportunities, how do they prepare for, interviews or even just joining a new organization? Because some of this is just virtually now. Some of our graduates may be starting at organizations where it's not in the office or anything like that. So do you have any tips, being recent graduates yourself and starting employment in a new workplace during the pandemic that is taking place right now?
Yeah, I think going back to what Katie said, I think she summed it up really well, in the sense that even if you've been graduated for a year or two, you're still going to have connections with the college. You're still going to have connections with your professors. So I think that's still a really good key, is to reach out to them. And just again, one of those virtual coffee things. But in addition to that, I think for interviews or in getting a position, if you're going into an interview, obviously a lot of people know this. You have to do your research beforehand. You have to be, the ins and outs of the company. But go in there with an open mind. Go in there not necessarily for them to ask you questions, but get interested in what they're doing. Start asking them questions. Show an interest in their company, and then ask them, how can I be successful in this role, and really just prove to them that you're willing to do whatever it takes to be successful in it. And don't just, in my personal opinion, don't just sit there and let them ask you questions. Kind of go in and really honestly just prove to them that, be interested in the company and prove them that you're willing to do everything. So I think that's a good key for that.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian. And Raghav?
Sure. Sorry, just to add to, Brian made some really good points. Just to add to that, as you mentioned, asking them questions is really important. I would like to take it to another level by saying that it's also, I think it's very beneficial to, the interview should not be more like a question and answer, it should be more like a conversation. So try to talk to them, have a conversation with them about the role, about the responsibilities. And I feel like asking them questions is really important because it shows initiative. It shows that you are, it shows further interest. Like they know you're interested in the position because you applied for it, right? But it shows further interest that you want to know more about the position. Ask them questions like, what does a normal day look like on this job, or things like that. Another one tip I would like to, because in the past, recently, I did some interviews. I would say it's, even if you are doing an interview from the comfort of your home, you should be properly dressed for an interview. So I think it's very important to keep that in mind. Yeah, over to Katie.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I just like to reiterate your question, Bonnie. It's a really difficult market out there, as we all know, as the lovely folks from the Employment Center definitely know. It's hard. There's a lot of companies that are not hiring right now. There's a lot of people in more senior roles that are unfortunately out of work, and sometimes they do go for the more junior entry level roles that we might be looking in. And I think my word of advice to everybody here is, it's not always a simple process to go out and find a job. And what I've experienced for me and my personal, career looking for jobs, is you will face rejection, and it does happen. But what you have to remember is, even if you're rejected from a job and you don't get the job, you got to pick yourself up and you just got to go for the next one. And in my opinion, I'm a big believer in this. If you didn't get the job, it wasn't meant for you, and there's something else out there for you. So you have to just keep trying and don't let it get you down, ever. Keep going. And a second piece that I'd like to say to that is, I find typically, and something that I did to myself when I first graduated, is I siloed myself, and I had an idea of what it was that I wanted to do, where I wanted to be. And when I applied for the job at Queensway-Carleton Hospital Foundation, I never once thought for a second that I'd ever work in the nonprofit sector. Honestly, I really didn't know that much about it. But being a new grad, you have to go for every opportunity that there is out there. If it's something that you think it might not interest you, try it. Because you never know. You never know what you're going to like. And as a new grad, that's how you learn what you're going to like. Because the thing that you think you like, you might not like it. So go for every opportunity and don't let rejection get you down. And my advice for the interview process, prepare and research the company. Look up and down all over their website, look at their social medias, learn everything there is to know about them, and be the expert that they want you to be going into it. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you,
Sorry,
Katie.
I would just like to add one more point to that.
Yeah, definitely.
So when you
definitely.
So when you're researching a company, I think it's really good to know if you can find their mission and vision statement. It has helped me a lot in my interviews, just to know what the company is about and what their culture is. I think it's really important. And if you can resonate in the interview that it aligns with your personal values, I think it goes a long way. Another thing I wanted to mention was, even before the interview process, I feel like a lot of people apply to a lot of jobs and they don't get interviews, let's say. So as Katie mentioned, I think you should not be thinking, oh, I didn't even get an interview. Pick yourself up. And what I usually say is, if you apply to 10 jobs, you get 1 interview, and that's the normal conditions. So take that to a next level right now because of the pandemic and everything. So if you apply to 15 jobs, you'll get 1 interview. So keep that ratio in mind. Don't get demotivated if you don't get interviews.
Thank you. Those are definitely great tips that I think everyone should keep in mind. And even hearing that, I'm like, that's a reinforcement for me to just, stay positive and keep moving forward, just because it is the industries are just changing so much for all of us. Touching upon that point, do any of you have any tips or even just insight into what employers are currently looking for? Is there any courses, or is there anything that you think students or even our graduates should just be developing on while they are job searching or progressing in their current organization?
I can jump in again to start it off. Again, when you look at LinkedIn, it's a huge thing for networking, but at the same time, everybody who's at Algonquin right now, you get LinkedIn Learning for free. And it's a huge resource. It's a powerful resource. You know, they have everything from every industry that you can think of to learn, to improve your skills, to improve yourself. So definitely jump into that. And then don't be afraid to share it once you get that certificate. Share it to your network so people can see that you've been working on yourself, you've been improving yourself. So yeah, that's just a quick one that I think is pretty powerful.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. I've never used my laptop microphone before. I was testing it out versus my headphones. I just wanted to jump in. I love the points though, but I found that the showing a lot of employers like when you can articulate very well. If you're always showing a lot of nervousness, they find that you're not confident enough to know your actual skill set, I find. And I get a lot of positive feedback about that too. So I just wanted to say that because a lot of people do a lot of and it can turn off a lot of people. Now, I've had over 50 interviews and I can almost guarantee that.
Mm-hmm. It's a great point.
I'm not sure if anyone agrees because, you know, unless he's like, oh, well, actually some managers don't care or something like that. I'd be very interested to hear that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jared. Going on that point, does anyone, our panel, to touch upon Jared's points, how to just be more confident? For example, if you are preparing for an interview, do you have any tips on just, you know, public speaking? Because I feel like public speaking in person may be a little bit different now, also virtually as well. So do you have any tips on that as well?
Yeah, I could add to your point there. I mean, luckily enough, I do have some experience public speaking, and I'll tell all of you, public speaking is not a natural gift. It takes practice. Nobody, in my opinion, nobody's born a natural speaker. It takes a lot of practice. It's not, you know, it might be cliche, but stand in front of the mirror, practice some of the points that you want to get across to your employer in an interview, talk about yourself openly. Learn, you know, kind of what sounds good, what's working for you, what's not working for you. And the biggest tip that I have in an interview is just breathe. You know, we spend so much time sometimes moving through things really quickly and talking really fast that sometimes it's actually really beneficial for you just to take a deep breath, think about what you're going to say next, and then articulate it more smoothly. So that'd be my word of advice.
Perfect. Thank you, Katie. Brian or Raghav, is there any tips or to add on in anything Katie just mentioned there?
Sure. It's more of a general point that I would like to make is like I've had this question before too, that how to not be nervous, let's say, in an interview. So my answer was everybody's nervous. There's, you know, everybody going into an interview is nervous. It's not about not being nervous. It's more about how you control it or how you basically come over that nervousness and still be able to talk. So it's not about, you know, just not being nervous at all. It's just more about, you know, having control over it.
Perfect. That's a great point. Thank you so much. And I'm not sure if anyone's done it before, but even recording yourself and rewatching, I learned a lot about my own body language while presenting, which I found was a super helpful tip because I didn't realize, for example, on camera, sometimes I look slouched over or hunched over, and just recording myself and rewatching that was such a eye opener for myself that I highly encourage, if it's whether it's a job interview or even if you're in a class or anything like that, because I think right now, being on camera, this is what, unfortunately, this is what our modes of communication are. So highly encourage recording yourself and seeing what you look like, because that definitely helped me, even for today's event as well. So
good point.
Great. And we have about 5 more minutes before we can see if any more people in the audience have any questions. I think one other theme that I would just like to ask our panels is about mentorship. If any of you currently are a mentor, or how someone that was, just looking for, I know networking is a big theme right now, and I think mentorship and networking go nicely together. Do you have any tips about just mentorship if you are looking for a mentor, or if you are currently being mentored by someone?
Yeah, for me, I don't know, when I graduated back in April, I started my own business. It was just a project. It's called Life Booster Tea. So now, right now, I'm selling online in a couple of stores in Ottawa as well. But before I even launched, I reached out to somebody who went to Algonquin before. He owns a coffee company in Ottawa. And yeah, we just had an hour conversation over Zoom. He gave me some really good tips, in a sense, was mentoring me. And then, I think we met 3 times now. So every once in a while, I just reach out to him. We have that call. And, we just talk about his business, my business. We go over all that stuff. And yeah, he essentially, mentor me, tip me, give me tips. And so I think, yeah, if you can find somebody like that who's doing something similar to what you're doing or what you want to do, and same thing, reach out to them and they'll be willing to help out. So.
I'll just like to add, one of my experiences. I would say going back to, connecting with your professors and faculty, I would say they're also a very good resource if you're looking for mentorship. Because I personally reached out to, when I first started the program, I personally reached out to our program coordinator, who's also a professor in our program. He has helped me throughout my 4 years of degree. I was able to participate in national supply chain competitions, which gave me a lot more exposure. Under his guidance, we were able to form a club. Other things, I was able to do a project, a real project with the industry client, which was brought in by the professor. So I think it can give you a lot of exposure, even if just reaching out to them, your faculty, and if you show that extra initiative, they will definitely help you out.
Yeah, that's great. So I'll jump in. So Bonnie, to answer your question, a mentor, I don't know if I've ever explicitly say that I've had a mentor. I mean, I would call even my boss right now to me as my mentor, because I'm so new on the job that every single day that I'm learning something new. And all throughout school, professors that I work with, like you said, Raghav, when we did client projects, I did the same. They were like mentors to me. So I think really what comes out of a mentorship is constantly looking for an opportunity for you to learn and to grow, whether it's educational, whether it's in your profession. And I think the best way that you can do that for yourself is taking every opportunity that comes at you. Every opportunity that you have to grow, you need to take it. Don't burn yourself out. But for me in my career, just as an example, is when things come up or new projects come up or new tasks come up at work, you got to stick your hand up for every opportunity that comes up. Never say no, because not only are you helping your employer, but that's a learning experience for you. Even it's something that's kind of out of your department. I don't really know how to do that. Put your hand up and volunteer to do it, because it's only going to benefit you. You're only going to learn more, and you're only going to get to learn more that happens on your team, maybe your broader team, people you don't normally work with. I think that's really, really key to growing yourself as a young professional.
Thank you so much, Katie, and thank you to the
Just
panel.
Another point.
Oh yes,
sorry about that.
No, you're good. I love this. Keep it coming.
Sure. One thing I wanted to mention was what would be helpful if you're looking for something specific related to your program. I would say reach out to students who are 1 year above you, or let's say first-year students reach out to second-year students, because a lot of times the questions you are having right now, they have already had them, so they would know the answers to those and they would be able to help you out. So I think that would be a good opportunity for mentorship.
Great. Even as everyone, all of your points, I'm also thinking myself, like, oh, which professors in my past should I be reaching out to? And also all of these ideas are fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm going to open up the floor to more questions from our attendees. And to all of our attendees, you can either raise your hand and we can definitely have you unmute yourself and address our panel. Or if you'd like, you can also pop in some questions in the chat, and then I'll bring that forward to our panel here. So I do see that during this discussion, we did have a question come through in the chat. And if everyone hasn't had a chance to see it already, I'll read it out loud, and then the panel, feel free to jump in if you want to answer it or add on to any of the other panel members' responses. So the first question is, I finished the IBM program at Algonquin, and I'm currently doing the financial services PG program. I want to ask, although I can tell that Algonquin College programs are very practical and aim to meet industry requirements in employees, is there any specific skill or talent that you think is important for finding employment and to succeed at a job that is not provided by Algonquin, but I can work on my own time?
I can actually jump in and take that. From the programs that sound very specific, what I wanted to mention was a lot of programs at Algonquin are also geared towards certifications, specialized certifications. So I think that would be a good skill to have if you have some time on your hands, because certifications usually require for you to study on your own time, and you basically have to write an exam. So I think if you have time on your hands, definitely a good skill to have. I was able to get a certification in project management, and now I'm working as a project coordinator. So I think it's a really important thing to have.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think like just doing that extra, going the extra mile, like any program that you're in, every single student is going to be doing the exact same thing. But if you take the time outside of school, you know, do these extra like certifications, do these extra courses, extra learnings, that's just going to put you ahead. Because again, every one of these students is on the same path. But if you can go on that same path, but do the extra mile and do some extra learnings, it's going to really help out. So I think, yeah, great point. Great point.
Yeah, I just like to add to what you two said, you know, going off, you're saying that it'd be really helpful, which I agree, to do these extra certifications. And I think all in all, what that means is work on your personal skill of having drive and having good motivation. Because if you teach yourself to be a hard working person and you take care of yourself and carry yourself in a way that you know that whatever out there that you need to tackle, that you can do it, that will help you forever and ever, no matter what it is, whether it's getting a job or any task. Work on your personal drive and you will succeed.
Yeah.
And if anyone else has any questions, feel free to pop it in the chat right now or raise your hand. I'll give it a minute or so and see if anything comes up. And just out of curiosity, as we wait for the next questions to come in, have any of you outside of Algonquin gotten any certifications or any online courses or anything like that?
I have not yet, since I did just finish my degree in April. However, I would actually really be, what I'm looking for myself is I'm really interested as well as communications and public relations. And I've always thought about going back to school or getting some sort of certification in public relations. So I don't think my time at Algonquin is done, actually, although I'm an alumni. I see myself back here one day for sure. I think, you know, while we're waiting for another question, you brought up a really good point, Bonnie, which was what kind of certifications and what kind of extra learnings can we do in such a difficult period because of COVID? And, you know, I think it's very apparent to all of us that anything digital is extremely beneficial to anybody right now, because all of us have their landscape has completely changed, and everything we do day in and day out is on a digital platform. So if you can do any sort of certification on how to optimize, even coming from a business marketing perspective, how to optimize user experience on a digital level, how to connect with people and how to engage with people on a digital level, I think is extremely beneficial to anybody at this point in time and for the future. You know, even when this pandemic is over, I think our whole world has taken a huge shift, and going forward, digital is going to be integrated in every single thing that we do, even more so.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the point. Sorry. I want to add to the Katie's point. Yeah, I think even within digital, I think something specific to look for if you are especially a business graduate or something related to technology. If you have interest in that, I would say look into cloud computing certifications. Really, really beneficial right now. Because most of the businesses are moving towards cloud computing, and especially with pandemic and everything, everything is moving digital. So look into that. Other than that, I would say every profession usually has some sort of certification. Like, let's say if you're into project management, you can do PMP, CAPM. If you're into business analysis, you can do ECBA for entry level, accounting CPA, so there's whatever profession you are in, you can look for certifications. Plus, another plus side of that is that a lot of the certifications are provided by these professional organizations who have a network of professionals who have already got those certifications. So you also get access to that network. You can reach out to these people. You can attend their events where people who are all in that particular area are attending those events. So I think that's another benefit of having that network available to you.
Yep. And I think, yeah, a question just came in from Sahir. He asked, he's in business administration marketing. I can take this one because, marketing, well, Katie as well. We're both in marketing. The beauty thing about marketing as an industry, like you could be in the field for 10 to 15 years and you still have so much to learn. But something that's really good, LinkedIn is always good, LinkedIn Learnings, but HubSpot is a really good resource. They have certifications on anything you can think of related to marketing. And that's what their company is, right? It's all based on marketing. So if you want to up your skills and kind of add that stuff to your resume, then HubSpot's a really good one for those marketing certifications.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you for all of the suggestions. And if I could even add something in here, even just learning Zoom, I think is a great resource since, interviews and all of meetings are hosted on Zoom. I remember the first time I was on a Zoom meeting and the buttons and where everything is, I think it's just regardless of what your industry is, learning these online meeting platforms is so important now. So I would definitely recommend Zoom. Just familiarizing yourself with all of these technical things is a great resource because even for me, I'm still catching up and building on that. And for our events team, it's just one of those resources that we're just trying to further develop because these are where our meetings and our events are hosted right now. So if anyone is not too familiar with Zoom, Zoom has some great YouTube videos and on their websites, just how to, because I think a lot of employers will also be doing interviews as well on Zoom. And does anyone else have any more questions before we break out into our breakout rooms? So we have a couple minutes left. So if anything comes up, feel free to raise your hand or pop it in the chat. And
hey, Bonnie, I was just going to add in one quick.
Oh, yes.
Just as far as lifelong learning and certifications go, everyone had great points. And just to let you know that the Employment Support Center team, all of us, we've just started actually today on more certifications for career development. So it never ends. It keeps going. We've been doing this for a bit, but it's always re-energizing and it's great to dive into new topics as well. So it just continues lifelong learning. It is part of the workforce right now for sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Carolyn. And Jillian from Asset Compliance has put in a nice little tip in there in the chat for everyone. And she wrote that as an employer, if you have certifications for systems and tools, example, Salesforce, Hootsuite, that could help you stand out from other candidates. So thank you so much, Jillian. Those are great suggestions. So to our recent grads and our students there, feel free to jot down some of those tools and systems, which I also had to, some of those things that Jillian mentioned there, I also had to develop and learn myself as well. So they are definitely super helpful. And if you don't know what they are, Google and figure it out, because even if those aren't the industries you're in, they might, before you know it, be part of your job responsibilities, just because as we've mentioned, and that as one of the themes is going virtual, going online and conducting our work virtually. These tools would be super helpful. Perfect. And I don't see any more questions popping up here. So thank you so much to our panel for the insight. I definitely have taken notes as well. So after this, I have some Googling to do as well, but I'm going to pass it over to the ESC team.
Great. Perfect. Thank you, Bonnie. And thank you, Katie, Regavin, Brian. We really, really appreciate your time, but more importantly, your insights, your experiences. They're just so valuable in forming the career paths of all the attendees, the graduates and students that are here tonight. So we really, really thank you for your time and for your advice. And of course, thank you to Bonnie for always doing such a phenomenal job moderating our discussions for us. We really appreciate that. The rest of the event is reserved for conversation and networking in breakout rooms with employers.
So sorry, are we all back in the main room now? I had not turned off my mute. So welcome back, everyone. Am I getting a thumbs up or you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. All right, so welcome back. That went so quickly. It was great. I hope that you all made a connection with an employer or multiple employers and had the opportunity to learn about their recruitment practices, their employment opportunities, and their culture. And I'm sure you got some great tips and advice as well. On behalf of the Employment Support Center team, we want to say thank you to Bonnie for a great job moderating to our alumni panel. And for for moderating the panel, and to our alumni panel, thank you for sharing your journey, giving some insightful advice, great tips on being resilient and keep going, learn from every experience, whether they've been successful or not successful, always be prepared, ask questions, research the companies, and of course, the importance of lifelong learning, continuously getting certifications, teaching yourself, but keep the momentum going. Just such great, great important information that was shared. To our employers, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and to connect with our students and graduates. I heard some great stories and great conversations in the breakout rooms. And again, great solid advice was shared with our students and grads, and that's really an important thing as well. Thank you to the students and the graduates in attendance. Great questions. And again, the conversations that were flowing. I know sometimes we got caught up at the very end, but just as a reminder, the contact info for the employers and the panelists will be sent out after the event. So make sure that you connect with them on LinkedIn to either continue a conversation or start a conversation. That's up to you now. Those are your next steps. And lastly, thank you to our awesome AC Hub team for all of their assistance in transforming our annual Tie Into Business networking event to a virtual offering. It was great, and we're really happy that you are all here to share in that first event with us. So thank you all again, and we hope to see you next year at our next Tie Into Business networking event. Thank you so much, and everyone have a great evening.